Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
And to the brave hearts listening out there, welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
Get ready for some real-time relationship woo and wisdom
From the front lines with occasional tantrums and tears.
about how breaking rules, blurring boundaries, and tossing tradition can be catalysts for finding your truth.
Let's debunk the fairy tales we were told as children and create a new map for life.
Yes, Disney can go fuck itself.
If you're seeking permission to choose your own path
Freedom is the new F word, people.
and want to feel less alone along the way,
We got you.
Please note, this is our side of the story. Our partners and metamors have their own individual experiences, and we do not speak for them.
Hi, friend.
Hello, Andrea.
That's right. Hi, Janelle. How are you doing today? What's alive for you?
Lots of things are alive, but the first thing I just want to say is that I'm just loving your hat, glasses, and your earrings, and your polka-dotted shirt with ruffles. You just look fantastic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm like, I'm easing into my winter wardrobe. It's like disorienting at first. I'm like, my go-tos are gone. What do I have with sleeves? And I also noticed you have new glasses that you're wearing sometimes, which are reading glasses, I guess, but they're so fashiony. And we're so fortunate because glasses are totally in now. So it just happens. This is what happened for bald guys eventually, like in the 80s. Bald wasn't cool. Now bald is so cool. You can totally do it, no problem. And you have new earrings that I've never seen.
They go with the theme of today's topic, which is holidays and holiday gifts.
Holidays and holiday gifts and navigating the holidays.
But before we get into that, you asked me what's alive.
Yeah, we're going to do a check-in. Like, what's hot? What's happening? What is your NBO, new biggest obsession?
I live in the Goddess Temple, Brave Hearts, and my house is still an evolution in that it's a really big house. I'm the only person living here, and I've been trying to figure out how I want it to be. Do I want to Airbnb part of it because I have a separate apartment in the basement? Do I want to have roommates? Do I want to have just like casual people coming and going? So I have settled on a couple of things for the moment. A 3-month experiment of offering the basement apartment available for housemates, someone who wants to live there for a minimum of 30 days. And then I have the Goddess Getaway offering, which is for someone who wants to rent the Cosmos room, and they can come for 1 to 7 days. And both of these spaces are just designed, they're not like long-term leases. There's nothing like really formal. I'm not posting these. They're for strangers, but they're really for strangers within community, like friends of a friend kind of thing. And so my first experiment is happening right now. I have a woman staying here who's thinking about moving to Colorado from New York. And we have lots of friends in common. She's been to Burning Man, but we didn't know each other. So she's been here for a week. And my stepson is living in the basement at the moment. And I am loving this. I'm very comfortable having strangers in my house. Like I'm just very easy with people I don't know. I'm very easy with people I don't know using my stuff. I'm very comfortable with people in my space. And I really feel myself being invigorated by the fact that I know that the Goddess Temple is being in use and in service to more than just me. So there's a feeling in my body of like, yay, people are here. And that who also feel really welcome and held. For me, I'm also able to, especially with having my stepson here, show up with a very conscious mother energy that I don't often get to express to this level. So it's like a really beautiful opportunity for me. I just love him so much. We get along really easily. So just to have basically drive-by hugs happen in the hallway is so fulfilling for me. And then with this woman, like whoever's in the kitchen, if our paths cross, then sometimes a meal just happens and a conversation happens. And so I'm really feeling quite alive and nourished this week by being at home.
Wow. I heard you say the next 3 months. I know that the 3 months is a quantity you use often that I have also adopted into my worldview. Can you just tell us about that?
Yes. The idea is like I've stopped predicting like who I'm going to be or what I'm going to do beyond a 3-month window. I feel like I'm changing so much. And even when I was in partnership, my former husband and I would say like, every quarter we were essentially become different people. So as a way to limit myself going to too future oriented, which can also freak me out because like, what's the plan? Instead, it's like, oh, I'm going to just try this for 3 months and see what happens. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm doing this forever. And that has allowed me to hold ideas or experiences more lightly because I'm like, oh, this is just an experiment.
And I hear that's allowing you to feel deeply, hold lightly. I just want to mention that this flies in the face a bit of what I was brought up with, which was more of a 5-year plan. Now, of course, we're talking about a 5-year plan, in a bigger way, like what money we're making, where are we living? But still, 3 months versus 5 years, like that's massive different ends of the spectrum. And in light of my friend Amanda, who always says, we're a different person every day. And I do believe that in just a very slight way. And so if that's the base, then yeah, 3 months, we are a different person after that 3 months.
Yes. And I think what I've been able to do is the planning is happening with ease. Then I'm like, okay, this is good. I'm in flow. And as soon as I hit a resistance, and sometimes the resistance happens around 3 months out because there's enough moving parts that I don't know the answer to the other moving parts. Then I just say, okay, back up. I can't plan that far. Instead of me making assumptions about the other parts, I'm just like, nope, I'm waiting for those parts to crystallize and then I move.
Great. Love it. Yeah, that feels pretty alive and really beautiful to consider because I think I also love the idea of people using my stuff, having my place be a come and go. I value my alone time too much because I usually live with two people.
But you also have a small house. I can have a lot of alone time in my house and have people here.
Yeah, that's true.
And I also just want to let the brave hearts know is that Andrea and I have implemented a monthly sleepover. Oh, yes. Yeah. So Sunday, so you're going to be part of the community on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, cool. Monthly sleepover. We need that time too, because every time we get together now, we're just talking about the podcast. All right. Anything else?
For me? No. Yeah. What about for you?
I'm still in this period of transition, but I'm having more good days and less bad days, even though they're all happening. And I wanted to point out that I'm still obsessed with this horrible hallway. And I was describing this on another podcast called We Are More Than Menopause with my friends Pam and Allison. I highly recommend you listen. It's just a great midlife woman podcast. And they said when I was describing the horrible hallway, they're like, well, you have to build those doorknobs that you can't get into right yet. The old doors are closed. The new ones don't have knobs. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I realized that maybe 10 years ago, no, I bet it was 20 years ago, my mom created this piece for me for my house that has real doorknobs on it. Now, it looks like something you get at Marshall's because that's what they sell now, but it is actually made of doorknobs from my dad's farm, my grandmother's house, the campus where I went to college, like my mom's antique store. And so it's super meaningful. It's been hanging in my house for a long time now. And I'm like, no, I already have the knobs. And I was like, oh, that's just like a beautiful coming together of a metaphor. So I'm just like looking at those doorknobs every morning now and thinking, okay, like I can build new doorknobs for the new doors for the new next part of my life. So that's in my mind. Next, just other things that I'm thinking about, little midlife melancholy. My husband's introduced this book called Hidden Blessings to me that I'm going to start reading. I've been drinking Gatorade. This is my new favorite drink. Nothing new, I know. I bought it for my daughter when she was like going through cross country season. And I'm like, oh, is there really anything better than a cold shot of sugar while I know that I'm hydrating? It's like such a little guilty pleasure for me. And that's been helpful during this period of transition. I've also found a television show, which I started watching ages ago, that I'm back to now. And it is also such a nice little dopamine hit to look forward to. Search Party. It's like a little cult comedy, totally making me laugh and making me happy. And what else? I'm enjoying my choir so much. And did you read All the Light We Cannot See? So I'm hosting an All the Light We Cannot See TV premiere party a week from Saturday.
That's the book that you said was they're turning into a TV series.
Yes. And it's getting horrible reviews and I don't care because I have to see it because I love the book so much. Yeah, there's a little things going on. Final thing is I posted a transition reel on Instagram a couple days ago. And a friend of mine, Larry, who I really know from business, and he's never responded to anything I've put on Instagram. So it was really a surprise. And he sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, I saw your Instagram reel and transition. We were part of a mastermind together, and he's done a lot of self-work and really dabbles in following the divine and like finding your truth. And he said, just remember, like, the ultimate message here is there's nothing to learn. There's nothing to know. You have to surrender. Yeah. So I'm just like sinking into that.
And what I'm hearing with that, and I'm loving this for you, is this coming together of two worlds. The LinkedIn world, which is where your business has been for a long time, and then your podcast, personal growth, Instagram world, which you and I have been cultivating together now for a relatively short period of time. That's a little moment of crossover.
Yes, right. And more to come. And that is where it's starting. I'm finally like, oh, now I am the artist that I've always talked about, expressing. And the financial side still has to be worked out. And that's okay.
I just felt my heart just go do a little like, pop, as soon as you said, I am the artist that I've always wanted to be, who is fully expressing and expressing.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of a hobby, it is one of my main focuses, and that feels really good. All right. Holidays. Should we talk about holidays?
We should.
Navigating holidays, celebrating holidays. Maybe you can start with, do you love Christmas? Do you not like Christmas? There's a lot of people on both sides of this right now.
Yes, I agree. And so I would say I am someone who loves Christmas. I'm someone who loves Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving for me was always like the Friendsgiving holiday. So it was always a mixture of people, different places around the world that I've celebrated it. Christmas for a long time was it was at my mom and dad's house, and then it became at my brother's house, but it was really dear. Yes. Holidays are something that I've always enjoyed because I've enjoyed my family.
Okay, nice. I'm on the same page. I love Christmas. I love Christmas music. I love Christmas decorations. I love decorating my house. My daughter and I have a series of movies we watch every year. I've watched It's a Wonderful Life every year. There's just a lot of memories wrapped up in that. Well, do you have any traditions that are interesting that you wanted to share from a family perspective that you guys did every year?
I would say that the tradition that I hold very like sacred in my heart is remembering that my dad would wake us up when we were kids by jingling the sleigh bells.
Oh, I love that. There's a couple traditions. One was my mom would get us a new ornament every year that was matching what we were doing or matched one of our hobbies, one of our activities. And so I have a lot of ornaments, and then I've given my daughter an ornament every year. So decorating the tree is definitely like I kind of hold dear. We also had a funny thing growing up where we would take turns every year putting the angel on. And it was like a very strict thing. Like from the time that my dad had to hold me to put the angel up, it was like, this year's my turn. And then we would put a label on the back that said, Dustin 97, Philip 96, 98, like for each year. And so that was just, it was like an old angel too, like nothing terribly special, but just a little silly tradition. That was nice. And I keep my mom's sled. She painted this little sled when she was probably 18. And that's what I have for my mom's house that I put up every year. So the question then is, how have holidays changed? And how will they be different for you this year?
I would say Christmas has changed a lot. It really was 0 to 45. I was always with my family. Even no matter where I was in the world, I made a priority to fly home and be with my mom, dad, and brother, potentially my cousins, depending on how old I was, for Christmas. And then after I got married, there was a question around that. It wasn't assumed that my partner and I were always going to go home. Sometimes we were with his family. Then we started traveling. And we were actually not in the States for many Christmases. So it's probably been maybe more than 5 years. I don't know the last time I put up a Christmas tree.
I actually remember being at your house a couple of seasons and thinking, oh, there's no Christmas tree here.
There's stockings that I'll put up, the sleigh bells. Part of my partner's traditions was reindeer flamingos. We have a few of those up. And that was really it because we weren't home for a lot of December. So I realized that I have very little attachment to the objects and to where I am now, even though I was so attached to it for the vast majority of my life. So the other piece is that my stepson had two families growing up, and he figured out that he was like, okay, I want to, like, you know, he's the center of attention. And that he's like, okay, I'm going to go where I want to go. And the people who want to come join me, instead of him having to split his time navigating everyone else's tradition, he got old enough to be like, oh, I can create my own traditions.
So wherever he is, you're going to.
That's what I'm doing this year. My stepson, ex-partner, and I, we do have a tradition that we are maintaining, which is that we are celebrating Christmas for the three of us at Burning Man. So this was our inaugural year of doing that. We plan to continue to do that. So it's just like basically saying we're making the holiday what we want. And for a lot of people, we've just discussed that you and I have really fond memories of the holiday time. For them, that wasn't the case. Like, holidays were actually quite stressful. And so it was like, let's take away the stress of navigating flights or navigating different family dynamics or navigating sadness and loneliness. And instead, let's take the holiday, make it our own. We're going to like take it all the way to the other side of the year, into the desert at Burning Man, and do gifts and sing carols and love each other in a way that isn't attached to the baggage of the past.
Okay. So I'm hearing that like you can keep Christmas with you instead of it doesn't have to resemble a certain thing. You're letting go of form. So this will be the first year that my mom is not hosting Thanksgiving for as long as I can remember. I haven't always gone, because I'm married. And so we've swapped back and forth. Like, we would go between families on the Christmases. They would take turns. But she's always hosted Thanksgiving, so that's really different. And yeah, it feels weird. And I'm happy for her. She wants to do something different. Her and my dad are going to Nashville. And for Christmas, I'm going on a cruise with my in-laws and my immediate family. And that also feels really different. And so I'm going to have to carry Christmas with me and carry Thanksgiving with me, celebrating it here. I think there's like a little bit of a hole from that. Like, ooh, that's hard. I'm not going to see my parents during this season, and they won't see my daughter during this season, but things change and I want to just flow with that.
The other piece I'd like to mention is my sister-in-law is incredible, amazing. I love her so much. She's got 3 boys, and this is my I'm realizing, okay, I have 2 sister-in-laws, but this is the one on my ex-partners. She's hosted Thanksgiving every year. And my dad, who hasn't been out to Colorado since the pandemic, he lives in New York, is coming out. He's 93. If anyone wants to see him, I just posted about him on Instagram. And what I realized is that even though we didn't have divorce as part of the history of our family, right? He's totally embraced the loving, divorced in love situation of me and my family here. And my sister-in-law, Shannon, has really been like, okay, like, I'm just telling the boys, I guess because you're not married like this, you're still chosen family. So we are all having Thanksgiving at her house together. And for me, there's a part of my heart that just feels so grateful to her for being willing to step into, chosen family, and continuing to open her heart to me and to my dad, and that all of us are doing that towards one another. Even though there's a divorce decree, there's a piece of paper that says we're no longer family, that we're actually choosing to still be family. And it feels, and last year we were just navigating the chaos and heartbreak and grieving of thinking about getting divorced. So it feels like a real marker of healing in me to have us all be together.
I think this term chosen family is definitely not something I knew until a decade ago, maybe even a few years ago. I didn't think about it that way, but I do now because I've made such deep connections with friends. And I think of you as like another partner in my life. And blood doesn't have to be the connection. And I was really fortunate to have my husband's family is big. For years and years and years, they hosted a 40 to 50 person Christmas. It's been that way since I've known him. Santa comes. Before me, there was a nativity play. There's a massive gift exchange. There's all the traditional Italian food. It's a huge party. And I love that. And my daughter loves it. And it's starting to go away now because things are changing. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago. It's getting harder for my mother-in-law to host it. But and there's a sadness. There's a loss there, but things change. So I hear that you're in your post-divorce. You are navigating this smoothly. I'm sure it hasn't been easy, but you're figuring it out.
Yes, I would say that we are choosing each other and choosing love. I remember when we first got together, we were both coming out of relationships where someone was really jealous of our past people. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. My past people are in my life for a reason. And he and I were in agreement about that. And so he's in my life for a reason. It's leaning into like inclusivity, even when it's uncomfortable.
Okay, I love it. And this is, I realized this is why I brought up my husband's family, because they had this 40, 50 person Christmas. And there's at least 2 ex-husbands, or there's an ex-husband and an ex-wife of my aunts on that side who attend, who are like still friends with their former spouses. And then like their kids come. And so it's a very inclusive feeling. And I remember being surprised at first, like, what, his ex-wife is coming and her kids are coming and her new husband's coming and their dogs? But it's just, no, everyone is welcome.
I love that. And I know that not everyone can do that. And yet those who can hold that in their heart, I just think it's really.
Yeah. And I have to credit my mother-in-law. She's just like, no, once you're family, you're family. I still care about them and I'm glad they come. And she was also always like, if you have friends that you want to invite, of course, they're welcome. And I always feel comfortable doing that.
Kudos. What's your mother-in-law's name?
Lori.
Lori. Kudos, Lori. I can feel the expansiveness of your heart in like that Christmas.
It's really nice. Yeah. It's great to have that family in Colorado since my family's in Illinois. So I've heard you talk about navigating this post-divorce. And what I am also navigating is poly during the holidays. So not too different, but a new thing for us is that on Thanksgiving, we'll be with my mother-in-law and some extended family on my husband's side. The day after Thanksgiving, my husband is going to go hang out with his girlfriend and her kids and some family there. First year that they're getting together at a holiday. Yeah, it was something to navigate. It wasn't that hard, but it was like a little bit, I had to step back and say, okay, how does that feel? How does that land? And I certainly understand it. And I also have had feelings in the past about wanting to see my boyfriend on Thanksgiving or Christmas and missing him on those days because they're, poignant. So that felt like, even though it was a little bit uncomfortable for me, I thought, yeah, I can see why they want to get together and they're in the same city and therefore they should. And it works out that I'll come to your house the day after Thanksgiving for your little get together.
I feel us in the river, right? Like, okay, we're just like weaving our way through life, and not everything is comfortable, but if we're choosing more love, right, which is what here you're doing with this, you're just like, okay, this is something new. And sometimes something new can be there can be some constriction around it. You and I are both really trying to practice breathing into that constriction.
So we want to talk about any old dynamics that exist when you go home for Christmas or when you see family for Christmas, or what comes up during those episodes, especially if you're seeing your family for longer than you usually would at a time, staying at their house. I know for me, when I go home, when I go to see my mom and dad in Illinois, I do revert into my old role. I become less capable of doing things. My mom likes to be in charge. I'm used to her taking care of things. She'd rather drive. She'd rather do it her way. I become a little bit more childish, not in a negative way, just in a like, okay, as if I don't know how to do it.
She wants to do it. She always did it. And so you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah. We just revert to our old roles. Like, she wants to set the table her way. Great. I'll just do it. That's fine. But I have to be careful there because then I abandon part of myself. So it's a tricky dance. And I also feel like when I go home, it's really ideal for me if I'm only home for a limited amount of time. I have learned that over the years, even though I haven't seen my parents in 6 months, and it seems like I should stay for a week or two, it really doesn't benefit anyone. That's how it works for me. Every family is different. I know lots of people who are like, yeah, I'm my parents for 2 weeks. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how is that even possible? What about you?
Yeah, I do think everyone's different. I would say it's changed over time, but right now, what I figured out this year with my travel schedule is that visiting my dad, like I used to go for 5 days or a week at a time, a couple times a year. And now I've realized that Because of my travel schedule, I get to be in New York once a month. So seeing my dad for 24 to 36 hours once a month.
That is amazing.
Yes. But I would say that, yes, there is a reverting back. Like my dad still makes me breakfast when I go. Like just likes to take care of me. He'll always pay for dinner if we go out or things like that. Part of his gratitude is that I'm coming to visit him, so he really sees that. And so this is like since I made the effort to come to see him, he wants to make the effort to like appreciate that. Is how I interpret it. Glennon Doyle of We Can Do Hard Things. She really speaks to this often and gives blanket grace to all of us who are navigating, recognizing that the child archetype in all of us comes out just as soon as we walk into our family home. Yeah. Whether it's the family home of our childhood, which in my case it is, or it's just like, okay, I'm going to be where my parents are now, and it's still like their territory. And that can be hard. And not everyone wants their child archetype to come back out because it wasn't healthy, it's not fun, it's like all these different things. And so just to be gentle on ourselves. And I always really appreciate her reminding us of that. Whatever version of ourselves, like, okay, we are now standing in our ground and like we are autonomous and sovereign beings, and I now am self-aware, like all of these things, like all of that might go away the moment you cross the threshold of your parents' house. Yeah. And that's okay. Going into a family dynamic is the absolute hardest way to practice being the new version of ourselves that we want to be.
I love that line. That's so true. I also want to say that it is okay to have some new boundaries if you need them. That is something I've struggled with when I go home, is that we have different schedules, different sleep schedules, and different relaxation activity schedules. I didn't have a lot of transition time. It's just like busy. And I'm like, when I go home now, I'm just like, no, I need to go in my room for a while to digest, integrate, and then come back out. That's just something that my parents aren't always accustomed to. I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I think sometimes I just need that time. So I've been trying to get better at taking that time when I need it. So let's talk about gifts. How do you handle gifts? Do you have ideas for gifts for our brave hearts?
Let me say that. I think I've had waves of being really good at gift giving and then less so. And I will say this, I have become a little bit averse to the amount of gifts when every kid gets a gift from multiple gifts from every person in the family is big. So I'm naming that I know that's a constriction in myself that's actually impacted my way of how I give gifts. I do travel a lot, but I used to travel a lot more. And I would try when I was traveling to find a really unique piece of art to give to them from a place that I was traveling. For a period of time, I made books every year. Back, I think it was like Shutterfly was the site back in the day. But they were personalized to each kid. So I had three nephews on one side and 2 nephews and a niece on another side. So 6 books. Each book would be customized to their name. So in this way, I would do Where in the World is Aunt Janelle? And one year it was all about countries. Each page was like, here's a different country I've been to and a picture of me. And then I would ask a question on each page. Another thing that I did was I was in Thailand one year on a beach where the coral on the sand was all these like really cool shapes. And I realized that a lot of them were shapes that looked like letters. And I made for all the kids a shadow box I found all the letters to spell out all their names and then created a shadow box with their name on it. I would also say I try to, like, in terms of my partner, like I remember one time he mentioned that he had this like favorite little muffin thing that a bakery shop made. And I had, but that shop's not in Denver. They're only in New York and LA. I was actually traveling in India and he was in Denver, and I had a box of these shipped to my friend, to his sister-in-law, so that they were there for Christmas. And it was really received really well because it was so unexpected, and it took a lot of steps in order for it to get to him versus it's just being like, click on Amazon.
Yeah, beautiful. So it sounds like you've just made a lot of effort to make things. Not necessarily spend money, not necessarily buy things on Amazon, but make things yourself. based on your travels.
Yeah. And I would say now I actually really almost don't give gifts, and we just give money towards a travel fund to each of these kids with their certificate so that when they get to 18, we've been accruing that for many years. So it's not an object, it's an experience that they'll give, and it's a future-based one. What about for you?
Yeah, luckily we have over the years scaled back on the gifts a lot. It's really hard. People have different love languages. My mom's love language is definitely buying gifts. And mine was for a long time too. My mom was very good at that. She would just look in so many stores. There wasn't an online when we were little, but she worked really hard to get just the perfect thing for me and my brothers. And now you don't have to work hard to do that. You just go to Amazon and everything is there. And so that gesture has come away, that like real thoughtfulness. And so I've struggled to find something that is also thoughtful. And I've just, in a lot of ways, just scaled back. One year I gave each of the women in my family a clutch purse that had photo slots in it. And I put photos in there and I wrote a poem to each one of them. And I made an awkward family photo book a couple of years, which is hilarious and really fun for everyone to look at. I created a family trivia game just with all these different questions about our childhood and our life and our town and our family. And so, yeah, being creative. And then when my daughter was little and she started crafting, I started crafting. So I made flowers out of book pages and I painted rocks. And then I gave coloring books, and I just get more and more creative. So just spending less money, which was nice.
Something that comes up for me is, in terms of giving experiences, something that we did when whoever house we were going to, a separate gift was we would always bring a game for that Christmas. Like it was like, what's the trending thing? Right. But we would also buy, and I didn't even know these existed, collaborative board games. Meaning you weren't competing against each other. Everyone who was playing was competing on the same team to essentially beat the game.
Wow, I've never seen something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are out there and they're very cool. And so it's a way to like keep the, the teamwork or like,
collaborative spirit.
Yes, collaborative spirit of the holidays going. So I recommend looking into those.
Did you play board games as a child?
Yes.
A lot. That was something you did a lot. It's funny because like we really didn't. None of us loved games, and basically we were so competitive and so high strung that it never worked out anyway. Because we're just like, we'd end up fighting, or now we can do it. I mean, we sometimes play cards. And
so something else that I wanted to mention, like instead of buying gifts for everybody, right? Like we have done like pull a name out of a hat and then you just buy one person for one game. But something that we did when we were traveling, which I also loved, and it doesn't have to be that you're traveling, but we would also give a financial cap. But so when we were in Mexico last year, we picked a name out of the hat, and then we had a $20 cap. And then the expectation was you had to buy it at the street market. And so that's the earrings that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, nice.
My stepson got me last year. And so these are the earrings that he gave me. And so in this way, it was like an activity to do on the trip. And we didn't all know each other really well. So it was also a way to kind of get to know each other by asking someone like, hey, like, what do you think she's going to like? What are her favorite colors? And to do that. And then, being in the street market with an intention was really fun. So even if we weren't traveling, like take it back to like, okay, here we are just at home in Denver, right? I think there is something fun to putting like a financial cap and a pick one name out of the hat, and then just like getting to go deep into that.
Yeah, I agree. That's nice. We also had, probably from college time, my sister-in-law, Christine, and I set up an ugly ornament contest. And so for many, many years, and it's lost momentum in the last decade probably. But so we would pick the ugliest ornament we could possibly find and then exchange it with each other. So I used to have like this whole box of just super bad ornaments that eventually I started throwing away. So that just like made things funny and was a nice little touch of humor on the morning. So as much as I love giving gifts and used to buy gifts and have a box of gifts ready and box of cards, I do remember realizing when I started traveling with my husband that I wanted to bring gifts for the people that we'd be staying with and the kind strangers that would help us along the way. And I just could not carry gifts in my suitcase or in my backpack when we did that. It made me nervous. Like I wanted something to give people when we left them, to thank them for their hospitality.
at that point, I remember really one of the lessons my mom taught me from an early age was that giving your presence is also a gift. Really wondering if that's enough. It's like just being with someone and sitting with them, listening, talking, holding space, cooking, helping. Sometimes that is enough of a gift.
Mm-hmm. As you're saying that, I think, like, what if the gift is that everyone turns their phones off?
Ooh, that'd be so great.
For the day, right? Just for the day that we're together, maybe just for the 4 hours that we're together. But if everyone turns it off, like the amount of presence that would increase, maybe that's like part. I am gonna
implement that.
Yeah, or suggest it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels important. And how about just a card? We do a lot of card giving in my immediate family on birthdays. And, I love words. My daughter loves to draw. My husband's also good at creating things. And that really is our gift a lot for a lot of occasions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I would say that is something too. My stepson used to give letters, just like would write a letter of like what everyone meant to him for that year or whatever. And always really heartfelt and beautiful to receive.
Happy holidays, Bravehearts.
Yeah, however you feel about them, know that that's okay. And that if it's hard, that you're loved. If you're looking forward to it, that you're loved. And that
you can carry the holiday in you wherever you are.
Happy holidays.
Do you need permission to be human? You got it. Listen, subscribe, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more about us at permissiontobehuman.live.